Hi everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I wanted to share with you guys my husband's all-time favorite cake recipe. I'm going to be making my pecan caramel cake. It's also known as the golden key cake in Ukraine, Russia, and Eastern Europe, where it's super popular, and there's a good reason why everybody loves this cake so much. It's so incredibly delicious. It's made with caramel cake layers. We're going to fill the inside with sweetened condensed milk and crunchy pecans, and we're going to frost the cake with a really creamy mascarpone dulce de leche whipped cream frosting. This cake is everything. So incredibly delicious. I love the caramel flavors, and that frosting is the perfect complement to the cake layers. Don't forget to head on down the video description box for the recipe. Meanwhile, let's get started. I'm going to show you how to make this incredible dessert. I'm going to get things started with the liquid ingredients first, and we need 4 large eggs for this recipe. I'm going to break them into a large mixing bowl. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, half a cup of white granulated sugar, and I'm going to add in 3/4 cups of dulce de leche. This is cooked sweetened condensed milk. I'm going to grab my hand mixer and mix the eggs and the caramel and the sugar together for a couple minutes until I have a smooth mixture. And into my creamy caramel mixture, I'm going to add in 3/4 cups of cooking oil, and today I'm using canola oil, 1 cup of buttermilk, and I'm going to grab my hand mixer and mix this again for about a minute until I have a creamy and smooth mixture. And I like to add a very light hint of coffee to this caramel cake, so I have 1.5 tablespoons of hot water, and I have 2 teaspoons of instant coffee. I'm going to combine these two together, and then we'll pour the mixture into the cake batter. Moving on to my dry ingredients, I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm going to be adding in 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Just toss that all together. And I'm going to sift the dry ingredients into my cake batter. And I'll grab my hand mixer and mix in the dry ingredients just until they're incorporated. It takes about a minute. And I've lined 3 8-inch cake pans with parchment paper, and I'm going to use a ladle to divide this cake batter evenly between the 3 pans. And I'm going to use an offset spatula to level out this cake batter so that my cake layers bake evenly. I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and these cake layers are going to bake for about 24 to 26 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. Once they're done baking, I'm going to take them out of the oven, out of the pans, and onto a wire rack to cool completely. Meanwhile, we're going to make that creamy sweetened condensed milk and pecan filling and our mascarpone dulce de leche frosting. You guys are going to love this easy and delicious filling. First, I'm going to place 1/4 cup of dulce de leche into a mixing bowl. And I'm going to pour in half a cup of sweetened condensed milk. And I'm going to whisk together the dulce de leche and the sweetened condensed milk until I have a smooth and creamy mixture. And then I'll add in 1 cup of finely diced pecans, and use my spatula to fold that together. That's it, this filling is all done. And now for my caramel frosting. I actually like to get started on the frosting while my cakes are still baking and cooling, so that I could set the frosting into the refrigerator for at least an hour so that it could set up a little bit more firmly in the fridge and it'll be easier to work with. So into a large mixing bowl, I'm going to add in 16 ounces of softened mascarpone cheese. And this cheese is just so creamy, it's perfect for this frosting. And I'll add in 1 cup of dulce de leche. And I'll use my mixer to cream together the caramel with the mascarpone cheese. And into this creamy mixture, I'm going to add in half a cup of sweetened condensed milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, And I'm also going to add a little bit of coffee flavor to the frosting. I mixed together 1 teaspoon of instant coffee with 2 teaspoons of hot water. And mix this all together. For my next step, I'm going to pour in 3 cups of very chilled heavy cream into my mixer bowl. And you could do this step either with a hand mixer or with your stand mixer. And I'm going to start out my heavy cream on a medium low speed and then turn it up gradually to high, whisking it for about 3 to 4 minutes until stiff peaks form. And you'll want to whisk the cream until it forms extra stiff peaks and it holds its shape very well. And now we're ready to combine the 2 mixtures. And I'm going to transfer my caramel and mascarpone mixture into the whipped cream. And I'm going to whisk the 2 mixtures together on medium-high speed for about 15 to 20 seconds, just until they're combined. If you overmix at this step, it can cause the frosting to separate. And check out this frosting, isn't it gorgeous? I love how fluffy and creamy this is. It's going to be the perfect frosting for the caramel cake layers. And now that my caramel cake layers have cooled completely, it's time to put together this cake. Once I had the frosting all done, I placed it into the refrigerator. It's been chilling for about 45 minutes now. Before I start assembling the cake, I'm going to grab a long serrated knife and I'm going to level the top off of each cake layer. And it's really important that you let your cake layers cool completely. Otherwise, even if the cake layers are slightly warm, they're going to melt that whipped cream frosting. Then you're gonna have just one big mess. So just wait for them to cool. You can even place them into the refrigerator if you want the cake layers to cool quicker. And the first thing I'm going to do is add half of my prepared sweetened condensed milk and pecan filling. And I'm going to use an offset spatula to spread the filling very gently but evenly to the edges. And all that sweetened condensed milk and dulce de leche is just going to sink into all the little nooks and crannies in the cake. It's going to be so, so delicious. Next, I'm going to add on a generous amount of my whipped cream frosting right on top. And I'll level that off with my spatula. And I'm going to add the rest of my filling onto my second cake layer. Add that second layer on top. Next, I'm going to apply a crumb coat of frosting to seal in all the crumbs on the outside of the cake. And then I'm going to place the cake into the refrigerator for about 20 minutes to allow that first layer of frosting to set up a little bit. And then we'll come back to add that final layer of frosting. And now that my cake has set in the refrigerator, I am ready to add my final layer of frosting. And I like to apply quite a bit of this whipped cream on the outside. I'm just gonna apply a nice thick layer. And to garnish the sides of the cake, I have about a cup of diced pecans. I'm very gently going to kind of pat them into the side of the cake. And we can sprinkle some of the nuts on the top as well. And I've transferred some of my remaining frosting into a pastry bag, and today I'm using a Teco tip number 847. I'm going to pipe generous dollops of this frosting on top. And now for the best part, let's cut into this cake to see what it looks like on the inside. Now I've let this cake sit in the refrigerator for about an hour, and ideally you want to let it sit in the refrigerator overnight for at least 24 hours, just so all those layers can soften and come together. Check this out. Isn't that stunning? You have those delicate layers, the caramel cake layers with the pecan filling. This frosting is so fluffy. You guys are gonna love it. And that's it for my golden key caramel cake. I love how this turned out, just simple and elegant with the diced pecans and dollops of cream on top. It's the classic way to garnish this cake. For the full recipe, don't forget to head on down my video description box for the recipe link. Now I also have another version of this cake in my European Cake Cookbook. It's made with buttercream instead of the whipped cream frosting, so make sure to check that out as well if you enjoy caramel cakes. And now time to dig in and enjoy. This looks so good. Now my husband doesn't particularly like cakes or dessert, but this cake he requests specifically for his birthdays, and he just loves it so much. Something about the combination of the caramel with the pecans, it is irresistible. This caramel cake is just wow. You will not be able to stop at just one little slice of this cake. It is irresistibly delicious. Like, you just want to keep eating and eating it. So much incredible flavor. I love those moist and delicate caramel cake layers. They've soaked up that sweetened condensed milk, and that's just made them even better. And then you have the crunchy pecans on top, and that mascarpone whipped cream frosting is just something else. It's just so light and fluffy and delicious. Definitely one of my favorite frostings, and it goes so well with the cake layers and the crunchy pecans, and you guys are going to love this cake. Now, when you're making this at home, I recommend letting it sit for a good 24 hours just to make sure that that cream comes together. It'll firm up a little bit more in the refrigerator, and those cake layers can absorb some more of that moisture. You guys are going to love this cake. It is just beyond amazing. Definitely one of my top favorite cakes. For the full recipe, don't forget to head on down in the video description box. I'll have all the ingredients and a link that'll take you over to my website, and I'll also include links for my cookbooks, the European Cake Cookbook and Beyond Borscht. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this cake at home as much as we do, and I'll see you next time with a new video.